Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Achilles Saltis, and I'm Vice President at the New York Times, responsible for our international conferences, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this beautiful city of Singapore, and to welcome you to the New York Times Luxury Travel Conference. So luxury travel really is in the DNA both of Singapore and the New York Times. Singapore, of course, I was speaking to Melissa Au a bit earlier on, and Singapore, I hear, has luxury travel as one of the fastest growing sectors, and that's quite encouraging for us, and that's a main reason why we're here. It's encouraging to hear that luxury travel is as important as banking in this city, which is great. And for the New York Times, of course, going back to the days of the International Herald Tribune, luxury and travel are two words that are really part and parcel of what we do. We've started our luxury conference 16 years ago in 2001 in Paris. We started Luxury Hospitality, which is a brand expansion, and this is the evolution of that conference in Lausanne about 4 years ago. So luxury is a great franchise for us, and travel, well, of course, for the international edition, more than 60% of our readers will read us in a hotel room or on the airline seat. So experiences beyond expectations is what we're here to talk about this morning. We will take you to space. Early in the morning, we will talk about authenticity and experience, of course. These two words are really becoming the buzzwords, and they're replacing, in a way, the much misused luxury word. So it's all about authenticity and experiences, but it's also about data. So we'll have a bit of research for you. It's about technology and innovation. In the world that we live in, we need to talk about geopolitics and how that impacts our sector, the travel sector. And tomorrow we conclude with the three most important things for travel and hospitality: service, service, and service yet again. At the end of the day, any new buzzwords that come in, service remains the core of hospitality. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our partner in this endeavor, Melissa Au, who is the Deputy Chief Executive of STB, Singapore Tourism Board.
Achilles, thank you. Mr. Michael Golden, Vice Chairman of New York Times, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And can I say, it's great to be in such fine company. Thank you, Achilles, for that wonderful introduction. And on behalf of the Singapore Tourism Board, I wish to congratulate New York Times on convening the New York Times Luxury Travel Conference in Singapore, and of course, a very warm welcome to all our overseas delegates. So Achilles started off by talking about what luxury means, and I thought perhaps I will just spend a bit of time this morning to just talk specifically about Asia and what the opportunity represents for the luxury market and for purveyors of luxury. So the luxury traveler, I think, is no surprise, fast becoming a very appealing target segment, and it's hotly pursued by both travel and non-travel brands exploring new business opportunities. And travel in general, I think, is predicted to grow at a rate of 4.8% over the next decade. And the projected growth in luxury travel, however, is far exceeding that, at close to 7%. And I think Asia in particular represents a market with tremendous potential for luxury travel. We continue to see very rapid economic advancement, and I think you will agree, a correlated increase in the purchasing power in many of the Asian countries, many of whom are your customers, and all of which really translate into a much bigger appetite for luxury travel. It is estimated that the Asian outbound tourism spend will rise from $260 billion in 2010 to approximately $650 billion. And this will make up 40% of the world's outbound tourism spending pool by 2020. And of course, fueling this growth is really the burgeoning markets of China, India, and Indonesia, where affluent travelers are expected to spend close to $300 billion on outbound travel alone by 2020. And this represents close to 50% of the entire outbound travel spend from Asia. So this was a set of data that came about from a research that was jointly commissioned by the Singapore Tourism Board and the Boston Consulting Group. And I think for us, that really speaks of the magnitude of potential that this marketplace represents. And for Singapore, I'm pleased to say that we're getting a fair share of that market. So from January to August 2016, we received close to about 11.3 million visitors, or a healthy 10.3% growth from the same period in 2015. We observed that there has also been a shift in the profile and spend pattern of our visitors from some of the top source markets. And increasingly, we're seeing visitors with a higher propensity to spend from both primary and secondary cities in China, Indonesia, Australia, and India. And they're not just spending on the usual products of fashion, apparel, collectibles, jewelry. They're also spending a bit more in indulgence in experiences such as bespoke art tours, private dining events, courtside seats at the Women's Tennis Association finals, Sky Suite at the Formula One night race. And of course, situated in the middle of the fast-rising and emerging Asia-Pacific market, I think Singapore is well poised to take advantage of many of these opportunities. We are, I think, wonderful in the sense that we are renowned as an Asian business hub, but more importantly, I think we're also a compelling and appealing leisure and business destination. And that's where compelling content and latest trends are seamlessly integrated. And of course, events like the New York Times Luxury Travel Conference serve as an ideal platform for regional and international leaders from the world of travel, retail, tourism, gastronomy to convene and understand what it takes to win in this market. I don't think I have to tell you that Singapore has a very compelling range of events and products to deliver refreshing, differentiated experiences for both leisure and business travelers alike. And for those of you who are here for the first time in Singapore, I strongly recommend that you go out beyond the Hyatt to really understand and experience the city. And since 2012, I'm pleased and delighted to say that Singapore has been a partner of the MasterCard Priceless Cities program, which seeks to connect people to their passions and enable them to experience Singapore in a much more authentic and exciting way. And of course, this year, we're extremely pleased to welcome our first Michelin guide and also become the first Southeast Asian country to receive the prestigious guide, not just in terms of print, but digital and bilingual. The Michelin Guide Singapore 2016 pays tribute to, I think, the fine gamut of dining restaurants and wonderful culinary talent that Singapore is so proud to be a host of. And of course, I encourage many of you to take some time to explore and go out and have fun beyond this conference. And on this note, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Achilles and New York Times and Michael Golden for the partnership that we have embarked on for a few years before the birth of this event in Singapore. And of course, we look forward to more exciting opportunities to collaborate together in the future. I wish all of you a very fruitful time at the conference today. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm Michael Golden, Vice Chairman of the New York Times, and lest you don't feel welcomed by Achilles and Melissa, my job is to say welcome to this conference. But I think they covered it quite well. We're delighted to have 23 leading hoteliers, restaurateurs, influencers, and experts here in Singapore among us today. The New York Times has a long history of impartial reporting on luxury, on travel, on lifestyle. We think it's very important to expand our areas of influence to other areas of people's lives and cover these areas in more and more robust ways, and we continue to do that, developing our 36 Hours series, launching in our Times Journeys a private jet tour, and student tours that we've launched this year. So we're expanding as the travel is expanding that Melissa explained. Our citizenry, our readership is global citizens who fully understand that events far away from them can have dramatic impacts on their lives, on their families, on their businesses, both for good and for concerning reasons, and they turn to the New York Times for that. We're delighted, as Achilles said, to have our editors Monica Drake, Sam Sifton, Ching Ni here to help bring out the insights of this great panel that we have. And of course, being in Singapore, which is just a model of a cultural melting pot, if you will. That's an overused expression, but it's a blend of cultures from all over Europe that is a model for a way a city can operate. And I want to thank Melissa and the Singapore Exhibition and Convention Bureau for its support. We also have our gold sponsor, Wing Tai Asia, a property developer and fund manager that has some extraordinary properties here in Singapore. Our bronze sponsor, Bang & Olufsen, as well as MasterCard, Capella Hotel Group of Asia, Journeys to the East, Swarovski, and the Grand Hyatt.